The question that we've been asked is, sometimes I want to raise an invoice and tell my client what to do in that invoice. Like for example, I want to give them some invoice instruction. How can I accomplish that? Let's kind of reprint an invoice and then take that through an example. Like for example, let's say if I reprint this invoice for a second, and when I reprint the invoice, let's go through the content and see how we can enable invoice instruction. As you see here, this invoice is now printed, and you can see at the end of it, like it just says like, hey, if you have a credit card, you can kind of pay this. And if you click this, like, we will enable payment with new uLawPay or others like that. But if you want to put some instruction where you want to say, hey, I want some partial payments via e-transfer or something like that, what you can do is you can go to settings. Under matter, there's something called invoice instruction. So you can put something like, please pay via e-transfer to someone at info.com is the email address for lower ring credit card fee, right? If you kind of can put this kind of an instruction, right? What uLaw will do is, if you reprint that exact same invoice, it will put that right there so that the client has an ability to understand where he wants to do an e-transfer. This is just an example that I'm using for invoice instruction. You could do anything. You could just say like, hey, please ensure that this is paid by the end of the month or in 2 weeks. You could put any instruction, but this is something, regarding e-transfer that we would like you to do. Once you put this instruction, I'm going to reprint this exact same invoice and you'll see what I mean. So let me go here, reprint it. Now what you will see is that the exact same invoice will now have this specified instruction asking the client to do something. So at the end of the invoice, now you see, please pay e-transfer to someone at info.com for lowering credit card fees. So now the client knows that this $266.80, he can either pay it by credit card or he can do an e-transfer. So to summarize, what you can do is under settings, under matter, you can use invoice instruction to give an instruction to the client on what he needs to do. There's also another one called invoice terms instruction. This is basically at the foot. There is a term that we put some default terms, but if you want to override that, you could use this one. You can say all invoice information is confidential, right? And if you would now reprint, not only you would have this instruction, you will also have a term instruction, right? You can say, now if I go ahead and reprint that exact same invoice, now you saw the base content and the footnote constant would be established. So if I go to the last page, as you see here, that instruction is here, but at the bottom, whatever you put there, whatever text you put there will be there. So this is the footer note instruction, and this is the invoice last page instruction. Again, everything under settings, matter, and you can use these two to put up whatever information you want to put.